Welcome back to a wonderful Friday at a $117,000 Bitcoin and a lot of green across the board. So that's positive to see. But today, I just want to focus on something kind of wild and really why crypto has been created, which is, of course, national revolution. Today, I want to talk about Nepal, which is something I lightly touched yesterday. And let's dive a little bit deeper into what's going on because it's pretty far out. And lo and behold, it is extremely internet native. Bam! Beautiful Nepal, a country nestled in the mountains that's been through a lot. It is experiencing a massive revolution at present, which is currently winding down. But the reality is that this is one of the first internet native revolutions. We've seen a lot of changes happening with the first social media broadcast wars, for which we can point to Ukraine and everything happening in Gaza. These have both had a massive impact on the interpretation of how these things have happened. And we have to also kick back a little bit to the umbrella revolution in Hong Kong, which actually utilized a lot of local apps, people sending data between phones over airdrop and stuff like that. So we begin to see the unfolding of digitally native forces using the online sphere as a place to rally, to centralize, and to coordinate. Now, there's this amazing post giving a very high-level overview by Rasheen Kalaketi, and the introduction to this is over 2 decades ago, Nepali citizens overthrew the monarchy to establish a multi-party democracy, hoping for a better future. However, 2 decades later, the leaders of 3 major democratic parties who overthrew the monarchy were still fighting for power and greed. They went from no slippers on their feet to living in lavish mansions, but the common men were still poor with no sign of improvements. However, something changed around 2010. People who relied on national TV and radio for their information started getting wide access to the internet. So this is a tale as old as time. A large swath of people in poverty try to change their government. The government falls victim to corruption and greed, and we get the consolidation of wealth to the very few. Now, this leads to a recent trend that's been going around on TikTok called the Nepo baby trend, specifically for Nepal. The Nepo baby title has been going around the world as well, but what's been happening is people are sharing posts from the children of the rich and powerful in Nepal, basically saying, hey, look, we have nothing while they're living these opulent lives, and calling for boycotts of any products that they push, as well as just general aggression towards this class of people. Now, this culminated in a rage in which the masses began to rise up, beginning with a very violent and aggressive act of rebellion. They began to approach the wealthy homes of these corrupt politicians and setting them on fire. We're seeing one group as it assaults a mansion and they capture a lot of the capital, and you can see the money raining from the sky. And the reality is that they used Discord and TikTok as a way to continually update and coordinate new groups to attack new locations. Say a new housing address might drop and people would coalesce and go and attack that. Now, don't get me wrong, while this seems like an exciting positive story, they did set fire to the prime minister's home. His wife was caught up in it. She suffocated, ultimately dead from this act, while the prime minister himself bails out the window and is still alive. And of course, we're seeing some pretty aggressive images here, but let's just understand how they begin to coalesce. Like, if you look at Reddit, there's so much conversation here, and they talk about, hey, look, it seems hopeless, but once we stabilize the government, we can rebuild the nation brick by brick. We will grow like a flower. And these coordination campaigns just begin to pick up steam more and more. Now, of course, this all culminates with the burning of parliament. They removed the dominant party's flag and began to set up their own system of governance. Now, what is interesting is the reliance on these digitally native formats. And the reason I talk about this in a crypto channel is because crypto is the financial format that is built for these anti-fragile moments, these self-sovereign moments. And what we saw was that not only did we have Discord, a very native conversational platform, but they begin to pick up on BitChat. And this is what reminds me a lot about the Umbrella Revolution, which is that BitChat was invented specifically for something of this nature. It is a decentralized Bluetooth, works without internet download. So what BitChat is, and this is supported by Jack Dorsey of Stripe, of Twitter, potentially also theorized to be Satoshi Nakamoto, and what is pretty engaging conversational points. Now, you can get BitChat on both iOS or download, and the way this works is that it is anti-fragile. It works over Bluetooth, so as long as 2 phones are near each other, they can communicate. And when you get massive groups like this, you can really create a very interesting network effect in which these organic conversations can take on form and begin to shift. Now, I did forget to mention that the catalyst behind all of this was the realization from the parliament that people were getting real information from the internet, that the state-controlled television had competition in messaging. So what they did was they went and they made a social media ban. That was the final straw for a nation that was now online, and that was the catalyst that led to all of this. So we move into a world of discords and bit chat, and they actually started to realize that the state began to clamp down on their money as well. So they immediately move over to blockchain rails, where they're utilizing Bitcoin for payments, where they're utilizing USD stablecoins as a means to maintain financial sovereignty during this time of upheaval. And this is the core of what all of crypto was built for. It was meant to make something that goes beyond the state, that restores power to each individual, to each human, to have control of their life, to be able to manage a sovereign destiny. And of course, Jack Dorsey's BitChat is derived from the principles of Bitcoin itself. So it's very fascinating to not only see them adopting the financial format that comes through cryptocurrency, but also some of the messaging that is coming through these new mechanisms for communication. Now, there's also Signal out there. Signal is a privacy direct messaging app. They take no external funding. They are a nonprofit, and they've done everything within their powers to keep the sovereignty of privacy on the client side, on a cell phone. So that's been an absolutely wild story. Now the latest has been that via these Discord conversations, the people of Nepal coordinated internally and came to the conclusion that Sushila Karki would take the oath. And now we finally have some resolution to this process. That large Discord conversation, that self-organization did lead to Sushila Karki taking the oath as Nepal's first woman PM. Elections to be held within 6 months. So she is taking this interim position, and this is an older woman chosen by Gen Z. So it is nice to see that this isn't a purely generational divide. And she, of course, is a former Chief Justice. So there is a lot of history with her capabilities, her skills, and her representative aura of the people. What we are seeing is the capacity for the internet to completely upend authoritarian regimes. We're seeing this through the spread of information, which is heartening because we generally look at the internet and see a ton of disinformation. But when coordination wants to take shape, and we saw a lot of this in the Arab Springs as well, the tools are there for the people to take their future into their own hands. And this is truly exciting. This is the foundation of what Bitcoin was created for, of why cryptocurrency needs to exist. We have gotten into such a rut where it's based in the United States, where we have a fairly sound society, at least for now, and government, at least for now. But it is nice to know that in times of dire need, the true nature, the most base nature of these cryptographic assets, something that has been wildly delivered upon to present day, can go from very underused to used. Just for example, BitChat had only about 40,000 downloads. It got another 50,000 throughout this process, coming in at about 100,000 downloads on the Android stores. Now, in one last note, just as things begin to pick up, Tether unveils today USAT, which is now being CEO'd and helmed by Bo Hines of the Donald Trump administration. And this is a USA compliant analog to Tether. So we can just see the relentless onslaught of these stablecoin companies as they compete for the dominance of the US dollar. This is all very good for the US dollar. And of course, this will lead to a point of sales spending capability around crypto assets, which have traditionally only been used for savings and value accrual. So this is all very exciting, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more in response to this. But with that being said, have a great weekend. Hopefully the positive momentum on the markets maintains, and don't get overhyped or over leveraged. Stay safe out there. As always, a like and a sub would be so wildly appreciated if you enjoy my content. It keeps me going. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday.